What if the image of Erionna and Angelique on the 50-foot screen wasn't just a symbolic or sentimental gesture, but a carefully orchestrated moment of mythical resonance? What if Angelique, lifted above the crowd, begins to feel the weight of legacy, not just her mother's, but her uncle's? What if the image on the screen, the cheers, the ceremony, all began to shift the myth, rewriting Ariana's role from survivor to symbol? What if the light Donovan summoned from the heavens and the Dragon King's victory over Overlord Xullah wasn't the end, but the beginning of something more? Find out this and more next on Free Your Mind, a season of freedom. Hit it. All right, folks, we are in the same story. Everett just experienced a mind-blowing event in his life and really got shooken up a little bit, right? But, we're going to move on from that because now we are back on the balcony. Okay, back on the balcony. Erionna watched as the princess and her team completed their compelling routine. She applauded her daughter as Angelique was held above the crowd atop a pyramid of her fellow performing soldiers. The words Lady Dragon appeared across the top of the 50-foot screen, showing her image instead of that of her daughter and her people pyramid. Everyone cheered, awaiting the next thing from the Queen Mother. Showtime, Erionna whispered excitedly to her best friend. Gwen hugged her arm. Erionna glanced back at Robert. The king had gone back to sitting contentedly in his chair. It seemed he was more interested in munching on the provided fruit. Again, Erionna sneered at him, hugging Gwen before moving toward her boys. Okay, boys, time to go. Mama's about to make a scene. Erionna winked at Chris and her boys. They all three hurried away, bowing to the Avian Queen and then to Robert. Franklin opened the door into the castle, allowing Chris and his brother through first. The boys knew they had their part to play. Frankie took one last look at the Lady Dragon as she faced her audience and cast the same spell as before to speak to them all. Welcome, everyone, to another season of freedom. My brother, Donovan, loved being your High King. His love for Enosh ran deep. This Freedom Festival is not just in honor of our High King Donovan. It is not just in honor of the legacy of Team Dragon Force. The Freedom Festival is in honor of you. This land is great because you are great. The masses exploded with celebratory applause as her voice immediately carried. Gwen smiled at this, knowing what the crowd felt was genuine love from her. Erionna bowed to them in appreciation before holding up her hand and making a fist to quiet them. As you know, I was just a girl when High King Donovan became the Dragon King. Yes, I am indeed that old. She winked, laughing in amusement at herself. Hence my Queen Mother title. Erionna continued to laugh at her own wit, as did the congregation. The balcony began lowering once more, initiated by the Admiral's Mist twins. It stopped about halfway down the giant screen before the banister parted, and then the flooring extended outward. Erionna stepped out onto the extension before she continued her presentation. My brother really was a great king. He reminded me a lot of our father, King Elian, a king of love and compassion. After the Dragon War, Donovan was so adamant about keeping Enosh safe after his passing that he split Enosh, creating the Seven Kingdoms. She paused to keep her emotions at bay before continuing. Some people to this day don't believe the story of the Dragon War. They think the Seven Kingdoms had always existed. The truth is that no one, aside from those forced into defending life and limb, has a clue about the sacrifice he made. I watched him die, defending this land against the threat of the family. Angelique looked up at the giant magical translucent hologram of her mother. She loved how the beautiful emerald stone of the castle exterior could be seen through it. Angelique could feel the pain apparent in her mother's eyes. Every year, she puts herself through this grief, all for the people and the brother she loved so dear. Overlord Xullah, head of the family, was an agent of evil and a warmonger. This self-proclaimed ruler, his slimy bride, Zeishanui, and their legion infiltrated our realm and attempted to divide, conquer, and enslave us all. She gnashed her teeth at the memory of this, banging her fist upon the balcony banister. Visibly emotional, she took a moment to collect herself. With a deep sigh, she continued the story of her godly brother. Donovan, High King of Enosh, faced him head on. Our white knights, white mystics, and the attending knights from each of the 6 then states fought ferociously by his side. They all faced these demons and their festering family. These invaders set Enosh on fire, determined to watch it burn. We were destined to lose a lot of good people defending what was ours. Erionna gestured to her left as fabricated scenes of the battle from long ago appeared. She studied the image of her brother Donovan, thankful for the assistance of Lona and Apani. She could not have upheld such stable spell work in her current emotional state. The crowd watched, observing the fall of Enoshian knights. They gasped, witnessing the High King's struggle under Overlord Xullah's heel. Both men and women cried out at the sight of the demon overlord. He was a giant, fiery horned beast of a being. Images of a teenage Princess Erionna could be seen as well, hopelessly bound up. The crowd was quiet, aside from the sound of their whimpering. I was powerless to help him. A tear fell from her cheek as her words wavered. The sadness in the air was palpable. Screams of horror and mournful wailing erupted as Xullah raised his hellfire sword. The visuals were so necessarily haunting as the High King reached out to Erionna just as the Overlord plunged his flaming sword deep into him. Easily, it pierced him through and through, his body lifting slightly as the demon pulled it from him. Still alive, Donovan's look of determination proved his worth. Somehow, as life slowly left him, he still attempted to crawl toward his baby sister. Tears ran down the Queen Mother's face as she relived the horror. She liked to believe that it was his love for Enosh, his love for her, as well as his desperation to save all that caused him to reach out to the Creator. Fallen, but not defeated, Donovan called out to the heavens for help with his dying breath. There was a brief pause where everything was still. All hope had gone, or so we thought. What none of us had realized that any present Enoshian or member of the family was that Donovan's prayer had been heard. From the quietness of the feet, a bright light shot down from the heavens. Christia Castle was flooded with its luminance, its brilliance pouring out of every orifice. The glory of the heavens spread across Capital City, engulfing Donovan and blinding and burning every demonic force. When the holy light subsided, every fallen Enoshian had been healed, our dead resurrected. Before the eyes of our enemy floated our Savior, our salvation, a God born of the Holy Trinity. Above him encircled something new, something never before seen. A companion. The white dragon. Emotional applause and screams of joy filled the previously somber space. The Lady Dragon smiled, closing her eyes and taking in the outpouring of positive praise. She doesn't even try to calm the crowd. She just continued the story to the amped up masses. Like a beacon from the heavens, he hovered above them all. Surprise turned to anger, and the demon family came for him. The Dragon King's white knights fought them off as he and Overlord Xullah went toe to toe. The Overlord was no match for his might. Xullah called on his dark power, thinking his own source was more mighty. My brother, your mighty king, called forth the new power bestowed upon him. The Dragon King's white-hot energy materialized his sword of light. Gasps filled the air at the display before them. Never again will your darkness invade this land and her people. The Queen Mother gasped at the near-perfect sound of the Dragon King's exact words as the image played. The Dragon King proclaimed this to them all, repelling the darkness with his light sword. Xullah had been pushed back, but refused to accept defeat. For the honor of Enosh and the glory of the heavens. High King Donovan proclaimed with his mighty light sword surging with heavenly celestial power. The Dragon King took one swing, separating the demon overlord's head from his body, and Xullah was no more. Celebrations erupted across the whole festival, seeing the fall of Xullah and the rise of the Dragon King before their very eyes. Erionna deactivated her spell, done with putting on a show. Therapeutically, her feelings, her real emotions, had been released. The Lady Dragon wiped her final escaping tear. Thank you, brother. All right. So that is going to be the end of that reading. Before we move on to the next part, which will be once again with Everett, still inside the castle, still trying to get to those princes. So what happens with that? That's what we find out on the next episode. But for now, we move on to the author's corner. Cue the music. All right, welcome back. We have just gone through so much with Erionna. Now here on the author's corner, those first questions that we opened up with, that's what we're going to answer now. All right, so I asked, what if the image of Erionna and Angelique on the 50-foot screen wasn't just a symbolic or sentimental gesture, but a carefully orchestrated moment of mythical resonance? I think it's all of the above, actually. It's symbolic because the people of Kamal all love the royal family. It's a sentimental gesture because it allows Erionna to share herself, Angelique, and everybody with the masses in a more intimate way because they can see her so clearly, see them all so clearly. Okay, next question. What if Angelique, lifted above the crowd, begins to feel the weight of legacy? Not just her mother's, but her uncle's. Well, I can guarantee you that with her being the way that she is, that she definitely feels more so the weight and the legacy, not of her mother, but of her uncle, I would say. Because her uncle and her father, they are the ones who are the warrior type. It's where she kind of gets that from, more so than her brothers. You know, you would think that she would have been chosen to be more of a member of Team Dragon Force than either one of them because of that, but maybe there's a reason. Okay, next question. What if the image on the screen, the cheers, the ceremony, all begin to shift the myth, rewriting Erionna's role from survivor to symbol? Well, I don't think that's in question, right? Because this, which she does all the time, every year, right? This kind of replay or reenactment via magic screen that she is narrating definitely shows her as a survivor. She's already a symbol. That's not in question. But kind of like, giving that vulnerable side to herself and showing that she's a survivor, that's huge. All right, last question. What if the light Donovan summoned from the heavens and the Dragon King's victory over Overlord Xullah wasn't the end, but the beginning of something more? Now, you may ask yourself, how could there be more if Donovan, as the Dragon King, beheads Xullah? There his head rolls, right? No more Xullah. Goodbye, the family. What else is there? Well, if that was the end, there wouldn't be any story, right? What's this prophecy they're talking about in previous readings? Is that prophecy showing that there's more? Well, you bet your sweet Aunt Petunia that it is. There is so much that's about to happen. I can't even tell you. I can't. You just have to read for yourself. Or you could like and subscribe to this channel and keep hearing. If you're not reading, at least you're listening, right? Keep hearing how the story unfolds. What happens next? Where does it go? I can tell you that we are extremely close to something happening. So far it's been pretty laid back. You know, not a whole lot is going on. You saw a little skirmish with Hawk, right? And the arrival of T-Bolt. Nothing major. Some people got scared. You know, whoop de do. But now we're going into the meat and potatoes of the book. This is just the beginning. This is the calm before the storm. That's how I like to see it, because we're going to find out what exactly is right around the corner. So again, like and subscribe to continue being updated when there's a new episode coming. We drop every Friday. Every Friday. So make sure that you stay tuned. All right. Well, that's going to be it for this episode of Free Your Mind, all right, titled A Season of Freedom. You can see why. And we look forward to moving into the next episode, which will have more. More. All right. So, not to sound like a broken record, but like and subscribe and stay tuned for more on Free Your Mind. I'm your host, Quentin, and I'll see you next time. Toodles.